Okay guys, I did promise you 2 videos today, and the second video of course going to be my first proper video on the new Leviathan launch box set for 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000, and for this I'm going to choose the Terminators. I think they're some of the most striking miniatures in the box set. I absolutely love them. Once I built them and seen the size, I know it's hard to see the scale in my hand, but they are a good bit taller than you think they are. They properly feel like Terminators now, so that makes me very excited to get them painted. I'm of course going to follow through with the Indomitus box set. I'm going to be painting these guys up like flesh tears, so that's what I'm going to do in today's video. I'm going to get this guy painted up and ready for my flesh tears army. So hope you stick around guys and enjoy the video. So I got the beautiful new Terminator all built. I got him sprayed up. I did my Chaos Black and then Grey Seer over the top sprays. I added the resin 3D printed flesh tears iconography on his shoulder pad that I used for my Indomitus set. And then I got to work. Flesh Tears Red, funnily enough for Flesh Tears armor, was applied to all of the armor panels that are due to be red. Obviously remembering that Flesh Tears have a bunch of different panels that are supposed to be black. Usually it's shoulder pads, heads and backpacks, but on Terminators that changes a little bit because there is no backpack. So for instance, when I looked them up online, the inner fingers of the Power Fist tended to be black as well as the casing of the Stormbolter and all of the soft seals on the armor. Honestly, Terminators in my head were always just Terminators. There's like, I was very impressed by these guys when I saw them, but it literally wasn't until I had built one and held it that I truly understood how beautiful they are in regards to the proper new scale. They are so good. I cannot wait for the rest of the world to see them. Black Templar contrast was then used for all of those black bits I was talking about earlier. So like I said, soft seals and the like. The interesting thing about Terminators is the shoulder iconography is on the wrong side. They swap it for these guys as the left side, which usually holds a chapter symbol, is taken up by the Crux Terminatus, which is basically like a really, it's like a veteran medal almost. Only the elite of the elite get to wear it into battle. And it's rumored that a shard of the Emperor's own armor resides inside every single Crux Terminatus. So whether or not that's actually true or not, I don't know, but that seems to be protecting them from the worst of the harm. Mechanicus Grey was then brought in to paint that Crux Terminatus, one on his shoulder pad, and then there's another symbol on his knee that I also did the same grey. Going for Mechanicus Grey and then the same highlight as the robes I did on the Blade Guard Veteran and stuff, just to keep those colours the same, that tone. Crux Terminatuses have been painted a whole bunch of different colours over the years, but generally they're kind of a stony grey colour, so I want to stick with that as well. From then we are going to go into Aggaros Dunes for all the parchment of the purity seals. These being such high ranked miniatures, you will find at least one purity seal on every single one of them, I'm sure. This guy has 2, as long as I haven't missed any, which has happened before. You get really late into the painting stage and find another purity seal. Bit of Sigvald Burgundy for the wax on the wax seals, on the purity seals. Just pink enough to stand out over the red. Now he's starting to look like a flesh tear. Lead Belcher was then brought in for all of the metallic parts, which basically is just the rest of the Stormbolter, the center skull in the center of his chest, and the kind of light rig that goes up over his shoulder. They all go a metallic silver color. It was genuinely a difficult decision to pick what the first miniature out of the box was going to be. I think the hype around the Terminators is the biggest, so that's why I went for that. But the Lieutenant for me, the Tyranid War Veteran Lieutenant with all the knives and stuff, he is unbelievable. He will probably be the next Space Marine I do, unless I get heavily voted against by the community in the comment section. Bit of Retribute Armor Gold for any of the actual extra details, so he's got a bit on the side of his Stormbolter. Some of the guys have like medals hanging down chains from their waist. If they have that, that will also go gold. This guy does not have any of that because he's a basic line Terminator, if that even makes sense. Okay, with all the base coats on, it was time to shade the miniature down, and just like all the ones I did for the other box set, Nuln Oil was used and shaded across the entire thing. Now, unlike the majority of the Indomitus Marines that I left at this shade stage because I ran out of time, and I will go back to them, this guy is of course going to get taken to 100% completion. So while the shade was drying, I got the miniature based up and I got the paints together that I'm going to use to layer him up. Thoroughly looking forward to seeing what the entire 5-man squad and the little teleport homer look like. They are all built And if I'm not too wiped out as I'm getting exhausted this evening, I may throw some paint on the other 4 just to get that ball rolling. Already looking fantastic, and it's time to start layering the model. So for this we went to Khorne Red, got a fine pointed brush, and I went to work. I've talked about the idea that layering is one of my favorite things to do. I find it very soothing. In fact, if you watched my video yesterday, you'll know that I basically am going to showing you all these steps in that video and this video are quite the same. The how to paint a flesh tear. But people watch videos for different things, so I can't assume that everybody that's watching this video now is watching the video I did yesterday. So I'm just going to talk through the process again and then talk a little bit about Terminators as I go. Terminators being one of the coolest things in the 41st millennium. Always deep striking into the heart of the enemy army, usually surrounded, insurmountable odds, and then they kick the ever-loving snot out of things. Teleporting onto space hulks full of gene stealers, they're just so cool. I love when they get it right in books as well. Sometimes our experience in the game can kind of hinder how we think of certain things. Corvus Black was then used for all of the black details. Like, you know, a squad of guardsmen with 2 plasma guns walks up to a squad of Terminator and drops 2 of them, that kind of thing. Whereas Terminators are something to be truly feared in the game. One of the more recent books, Sons of the Salinar, I believe, is one of the siege books from the Horus Heresy. And it basically was the last of the Shattered Legion trying to escape with X. I'm not going to talk about what X is, just in case. But there's a scene in it where 2 Sons of Horus Terminators drop in. And there's like 6 Marines left. And these are veterans of a million war. These guys are kitted out. They are ready to fight. And 2 Terminators drop in and they immediately just feel hopeless. They're like, oh my god. 2 Terminators from the Sons of Horus have just dropped onto the battlefield. We are all dead. And the dread that a Space Marine felt that one of these indomitable soldiers was marching to bring them their end, it's just awesome. So I try and include them in as many armies as possible. And I plan to do that for many years to come. Genuinely disappointed the World Leaders didn't get Terminators. Like, genuinely that bothered me. I thought it would be so cool to see the Red Butcher Terminators being deployed, but hopefully in the near future we'll get that. Mechanicus Standard Grey was then brought in to highlight all of the Crux Terminatuses. Very simple, very easy step, but it adds a nice little bit of kind of freshness and cleanness to those areas. Really sharp looking. I genuinely wish I had an entire... I don't have very many Blood Angels transfer sheets. I might have to dig some out because I think there's a few parts on this miniature that could do with some transfers, and I may go back and add them. Wish I'd add them before this stage here where I use a sponge to weather on a little bit of silver. Like I said, these guys are teleported into the center of the battle and usually have to fight off a million guys, and they always talk about the amount of small arms fire that patters off their armor. Each one of those patters is probably going to chip the paintwork. It may not pierce or even dent the armor, but the paint is not invulnerable. So they usually end up with lots of scrapes and scuffs that need to be, cleaned up and repaired and repainted after each battle. And I find that sponging a little bit of weathering silver onto the model works a treat. Now I just finished off a couple of extra details. So Karak Stone was used to highlight the parchment. Pure white was painted anywhere that I wanted to glow. So his eye lenses and his lamp pack above his right shoulder just gets a coat of pure white. Pink Horror was then used to highlight all of the wax seals. Just add a little bit more life to them. They're very important to Space Marines, so spending a little bit of time adding a bit of detail to those. I don't usually bother trying to do like words on them. I can never make them look good, so I just leave the parchment with the nice wax seal. I think does the trick for me. Some Corandrous green shade was their contrast, was then used over all of those bits that I painted pure white to give them that glowing effect. It's the simplest trick, pure white, and throw a bright contrast into the eye lens and you get this beautiful glowing Space Marine helmet. And with that, we've completed our first miniature from the new Leviathan box set. I hope you guys think he's as cool as I think he is. He's an absolute beast of a miniature. I think all the chipping really added something to him. Very stoic, and I cannot wait to, like I said, get the other 4 of them painted up and see them all together. Some close-up shots of the actual Terminator himself. And I believe I'll give you a little bit of an idea of how big he actually is. So here he is next to a Chaos Terminator. And then just for fun, here he is next to an Imperial Guardsman. See quite how massive he is on the tabletop. Well guys, I did it. I completed the first miniature out of my Leviathan box set. I couldn't help but start with the Terminators. They were just too beautiful. I am really excited for you guys to get your hands on your own sets of these Terminators. There is something about holding them that you truly get the sense of the new scale of them and how perfect they are. Like next to a Marine, they're perfect. Next to a Guardsman, they're perfect. They're perfect. And I cannot wait to be able to get my hands on more squads of these, because I've got a couple of more Space Marine armies that deserve a squad of these Terminators in it. So hopefully in the near future we'll get our multi-part box of these guys, or just this set thrown into a box and released as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to know what you guys' idea would be for the next miniature in my Leviathan series. I'm probably going to jump to the other side and do a Tyranid now, but what is the first Tyranid you want to see painted out of the box set? Most votes for that will of course get chosen, and I will do that for next video. Thank you guys for sticking around till the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like. Subscribe if you're not already. That would makes a difference. Please do. If you want to get more content out of me, I do an extra video every single week for my Patreons. So if you want to get more of that, there's links to it below. And you also get access to a private Discord server. So a couple of different benefits that should help you out in your hobby journeys. Okay guys, that brings an end to Indomitus week for me. I know this technically wasn't part of Indomitus week, but kind of was. 6 days straight of content, 8 videos released. I'm going to go and sleep now for a week. But I hope you enjoyed the whole crazy journey, and I hope you enjoyed me painting these Terminators. So, thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you next week.